This is Station Street in Sittingbourne, and opposite this former newsagent's is now a cinema and restaurant complex. It was once a quiet residential street.
Today there's a brand new shopping quarter, hotel, cinema and restaurants on the land opposite Sittingbourne's railway station. Many people remember the roundabout that was here before and the Forum car park. Some will even remember the two-level car park that preceded that. But I want to look back at a residential street that was there running parallel to the High Street and just about opposite the former newsagents in Station Street. This was Cross Street, Sittingbourne, and it's mentioned in newspapers, census reports and directories, and you can find it on old maps. In the 1700s, this part of Sittingbourne was largely fields. In the 1840s, still the only road running north from the main street was Berry's Lane, or Berry Street as it became known later. There is no record of any dwellings on Cross Street in the 1861 census, although it's likely that the street did already exist by 1860 as a cut through from Berry's Lane to Station Street. There appear to have been 2 or 3 storehouses or stables on the street, as these early maps show. Percy S. Payne, a coal and corn merchant on Station Street, certainly had a large store here in Cross Street. But land and cottages, or messuages as they were described, were being offered leasehold in 1862. This was before Crescent Street was built, and was part of the building surge just before the coming of the railway. These dwellings mainly comprised a terrace of 7 three-storey houses on the north side of the road. Steps led up from the pavement to the front door, and although there was no front garden, there were small back gardens. There were 5 occupied dwellings in Cross Street in 1871, but there was still building land being sold off here. Lorne Place was a small alley with 9 cottages running south of Cross Street. These houses had small gardens on Lorne Place. The smallest of glimpses into the lives of the residents of Cross Street can be gleaned from the census records and from the occasional report in the East Kent Gazette. A missing child in 1866, the daughter of a tailor living in Cross Street. I assume she turned up safely. A refurbished bagatelle board for sale in 1876. The seller of this item was Mr. Charles J. Smead, an upholsterer from Canterbury, who made No. 2 Cross Street both his family home and his place of business for several years. The houses in Cross Street were reasonably substantial, often home to 2 families. There was an 8-room house with stable and loft being advertised in 1878. The inhabitant at No. 6 at this time was Mr. Spice, a Smead Dean barge captain who married and made it the family home. Although because he was away a lot, No. 6 was divided and part of the house let to another family. In 1881 there was discussion by the council as to whether to supply a street lamp, even though the street was at this time technically still a private road. From about 1886, Mackeson and Company had Hythe Brewery stores in the building at No. 3, and storekeeper John Raitt was living there with his family. A few years later they had moved their stores to Crescent Street, keeping just an office in Cross Street at No. 12. It wasn't until 1894 that the street was adopted as a public road. The street was deemed as not needing a tarmac surface since the road was already coated with flints. In August 1916, father of 5 Henry Ely of No. 4 Cross Street was killed in action, aged 36. 26 men from Sittingbourne and Milton lost their lives during July and August 1916. Also in 1916, the local paper carried news of complaints about an overflowing urinal in Cross Street, said to be part of a public house. This could only have been the castle which stood on the corner of Berry Street and Cross Street, right opposite where widow Mrs. Ely lived with her 5 children. It seems that number 6 Cross Street had been used as a general shop for the early part of the 20th century. 61 people had been recorded as living at Cross Street in 1891, and in 1939 there were just 24. Round the corner in Lorne Place, all the houses were occupied. After the Second World War, the area must have been in decline, and in 1948 consideration was being given for the demolition of the houses in the area and the siting of a new bus station here opposite the railway station. This didn't happen, but 13 years later, in 1961, a compulsory purchase and clearance order went up for most of Cross Street, Lorne Place and Berry Street to allow redevelopment of the area. The castle, together with number 1 Cross Street and some of the store buildings, were to be saved for the time being. The council were generally applauded for their plans for the removal of what had become a very ramshackle area, and the plan for a new road called St Michael's Road. But there was no clear idea yet as to what to do with the area of clearance, which was after all right in the town centre. In 1962 the green light was given by the Housing Minister, and the planned demolition of houses in Cross Street, Lorne Place, part of Berry Street and, it seems, Station Place directly opposite the station went ahead. The cleared land opposite the station was at first used as the station car park. We can see on the aerial photograph from 1965 that the outline of the streets remained for a few years. Then in 1972 work began on the removal of Berry Street, Crescent Street and Railway Terrace and the construction of a new shopping centre which was to be called the Forum. This entailed the complete removal of the old Cross Street and Lorne Place and the construction of a new 2-level multi-storey car park. A roundabout was created in front of the railway station. In 1988 the Forum was revamped and the much criticised 2-storey car park was demolished. The area was then used as a surface level car park for the Forum and sometime market area. From 2019 to 2021, a much heralded new development with cinema and commercial quarter with a new road layout were constructed on the area where the roundabout and the Forum car park had been.
This is exactly where the streets, Cross Street, Lorne Place, Railway Place, once stood.
If you have found this video interesting, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or visit our website.